Hello and welcome to the Jungle Garden in Denmark, in snow and frost. Normally I put out a new video last Friday in the month, so this is a little earlier than normal, but I just thought I would take you on a tour through the garden here in winter and talk a bit about how the plants survive, hopefully. And we can start with the tree ferns. It's always a dilemma. Should I brush off the snow or should I leave it on, because it is an insulation against the cold. But if it's too heavy, the fronds will break. But then again, they'll brown off anyway, and there'll be new ones next year, I hope. And this we've got -3 degrees Celsius today, but we've had a night with -9 degrees, which is around 16 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. So they are protected now around the trunk with a polystyrene barrel, or half a barrel cut in half. I've shown it in a previous video. And also there is a fleece and straw in the crown of the tree fern to protect the new crocus. And also there's fleece around the top of the trunk where the fronds start, again to protect the new crocus. And normally this will be enough to make them survive, so hopefully that's the case this year too. As you can see on the rhododendrons, evergreen plants usually survive with withdrawing water from the leaves, and then they droop like that. But that makes them survive. So the moment we haven't got frost anymore, then they'll be back to normal. And that's also the case for many of the evergreen plants here in the jungle garden. The palm trees, like the Trachycarpus fortunii and the little Trachycarpus wagnerianus next to it, normally do well even though it is quite cold. I must admit, with -9 degrees Celsius, I probably should have protected the middle of the palm trees, or rather my husband should, because I'm not able to do anything these days. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, because you can't see if the palm tree is dead until it warms up. This one is so big, so it probably has made it, but we just don't know yet. I heard a very good comparison. Our Christmas trees that are cut down and put in the living room and then go outside afterwards, and they still look fresh and green just until it warms up. Then they drop all the needles, because in reality they're dead. And it's the same with the palm trees. You don't know until it warms up if it has survived or not. And this is a Fatsia japonica variegata that looks really miserable. But again, it survives with withdrawing the water from the leaves, and then they droop like that, and when we get warm weather, it'll perk up again. That's what usually happens. Of course, you never know. Under this pot is what is left of my Gunnera manicata, or cryptica as it is called nowadays. It just got smaller and smaller. I don't know why. So I don't know if it will survive this winter. It's protected with straw because there wasn't any leaves to protect it with. So we'll just have to wait and see. And this is how we protect our gingers. We cut them down, protect them with straw, cover them up with straw, and then we put a wooden box on top to just protect it from the rain and snow, and normally that's enough to make them survive. So I'm pretty sure that'll be the case this year too. We've had colder winters than now. And this is one of our eucalyptus trees. It's protected with a polystyrene box, and then we have protected the top where it's open with a bag with straw in, just to keep the warm inside, to keep the warmth inside. And this ugly box is covering up our 2 big Phormiums variegata. We just couldn't make a polystyrene box big enough for them this year, so instead my husband made this. There's no insulation in it. It just protects against wind and water, and hopefully that'll be enough now they're that big. And this is one of our big Cordylines. As you can see, it's in a polystyrene box with a lid on, and it is also protected. The opening of the box is protected with a bag with straw in, and it is because otherwise the lid is not really tight, sealed tight. So as you can see, it's got heat cables going to it, and it is a help to keep the warmth inside the box. The same thing for that banana plant in the background. It's exactly the same type of protection it has got. And then in front I've got a Euphorbia stickiana, and this year I've given it a roof. It's got drooping leaves, as you can see, but again, it is a way to survive the cold, and it will perk up, I hope, when the weather warms up. We've had a stickiana before, and it survived colder winters than this, and all of a sudden it died. And I've tried to put a polystyrene box around it, but it died, and I think it was just too humid in there. So now I'm just trying with the roof. And these boxes are covering up some Couchlayas and Eucomis plants. This is the Farfugium, that plant that wasn't really so sheltered here. And as you can see, it has been completely blackened off by the frost. It is a perennial, so we'll just see if it comes back next year or if this was too much for it. The more sheltered Farfugium here has also been blackened off by the frost. So again, we'll have to see what happens in spring. Here we have some of our Yuccas under a roof. We learned the hard way that that's the way to protect them. They do not like all that snow and rain in the middle of the plant. There's also a small Eucalyptus here in front that looks like it's doing absolutely fine. So this is what we're going to do from now on. We've done this for the last couple of years with good results. But next to it, outside the roof, is the European fan palm Chimerops humilis, and perhaps that should actually have been protected. We'll just have to see. Now I think we'll leave the snow on for as insulation, and then probably get rid of the snow in the middle once it thaws, so it doesn't freeze again in the middle of the plant. This time of year we just haven't got a garden that's nice to look at. It's all polystyrene boxes. Here is our Jubaea chilensis and 2 Butia palm trees. We just had to cover them up because they will not survive. Perhaps the Jubaea, but it's still a young plant, so I don't want to risk it. And this is our Loquat tree, which has no protection at all, and it never has had any. Well, which is not true, because we've actually protected the trunk. We can't put a polystyrene box around that anymore. So this year it's been protected with something else, also some insulation, but a bit thinner. So hopefully that'll be enough. It'll be a shame to lose it now, it's this big. And this is our tallest Cordyline. It will be a problem in the future when it gets taller, because already now the polystyrene box is so tall that it tends to fall over if we get a storm, which we often do in winter. It has been supported with some iron rods that's been driven into the ground, but it probably isn't enough if you get a really big storm. And that is our Tetrapanax. Normally they freeze back to the ground and then they shoot again, but last year it never came back. So this is a new one, and now we're trying to protect it with a polystyrene box, so hopefully it'll survive this time. And again, here's another Fatsia japonica looking miserable, but like the other one, it'll come back in spring with nice looking leaves, most of them, and sometimes they'll get a few black ones which I just cut off, and then they get a new flush of leaves. Our Albizia julibrisson is now so big that it is a problem to protect it with a polystyrene box. Last year we just protected the trunk, and but this year it has been a problem to protect it with a polystyrene box, so that has also been protected with that black insulation stuff, and hopefully that'll be enough. As you can see, the big tree fern is also getting black fronds now. I might take the snow off the front so that they don't break, but then again, it doesn't really matter because there'll be a new flush of leaves next spring, and the snow in the middle will probably help insulate the new crotches. It's already got fleece and straw in there, so that'll just be a help. And it's the same thing with the smaller tree fern, and if you see the Aucuba japonica in the background, if I can zoom in, it's a bit difficult when you've got big gloves on. You can see that has done exactly the same as the other evergreen plants. The leaves are drooping, and it'll look nice when spring comes again. The Australian bed is almost empty because most of the plants have been lifted and taken into what we call the plant room, where they will overwinter, except for the eucalyptus tree, which normally survives out here. Here in the New Zealand bed, a lot of the plants have stayed outside as always. This is our Schefflera taiwaniana in that box, and this one is a Phormium, and here is another tall Cordyline, just about as tall as we can protect it. So we'll see what happens in the future. And then you've got another Phormium. There's also normally, or not normally because it was planted this year, a small Nikau palm, and I have waited a long time for that, to find that plant. So just in case, I have lifted it this year, so it is in our indoor plant room. And also our Astelia SilverSpear. It has been out since it was planted years ago, but it just doesn't grow. So now I have lifted it, and then we'll see if that makes it better. And here in the corner, we normally have a red Phormium, but it's just impossible to protect it with a polystyrene box now. It's too big, and there are those rocks around it, so we decided to lift that as well. Not ideal because there's not much to look at, but that's just the way it is when you have a tropical garden in a country like Denmark. And this is the yucca bed, where all the yucca plants have got their own little roofs now, and that is enough to make them survive, because normally we have had no protection on them at all, and they have still survived. But our winters are getting wetter. Normally we get lots of rain, and they do not like to be really wet in the middle and cold. So it is to protect against that, not really the cold. And it's also a great help for us because in weather like this where we get snow, we normally brush the plant free of snow in the middle just to protect the new shoots, and that's quite a lot of work, and now we don't have to do that anymore. As always, I try to make sure that the birds have got enough to eat because it is difficult for them to find anything when the snow is covering the ground everywhere. As you can see, the pond is completely frozen over except for where we've got what we call the polar bear, because that polystyrene thing, it looks like a polar bear looking up through the hole in the ice, and it's got a pump underneath so it keeps an area open. But because we've got the streams running as well, they also keep a nice free area, which is good for the fish, so they can get some oxygen down in the water, and they can and different gases can escape. They'll survive, as they always do. And that was just a little winter tour around the garden to see what we do to make our plants survive. Thank you for watching.